And we're back for another scorching episode of I'd Lather Be Shaving with my host, Douglas Smythe, and I at my side as always, Matt Pisarcik. Today, we're going to be talking about the wonderful world of pomades. Yeah.
I had this whole thing worked out. Like, what do Katharine Hepburn and Betty Davis have in common? We'll find out when we return with I'd Lather Be Shaving.
All right.
Pomade, folks.
Warm up that wax. Get ready to style, people.
Pomada. This is something we have yet to cover on I'd Lather Be Shaving because, well, we typically focus on shaving. But after our last episode and the success of it, we decided to delve into a little bit more male grooming accoutrement.
Some of this.
Pomades. Matt, you wear pomade. He's a pomade wearer. I'm not really. I'm a pomade maker, but I don't really rock the pomade like so many do.
I do some pomades, do some other products. Just depends on the day, how I'm feeling.
I respect that, man.
I'm feeling kind of slick and sexy.
Yeah, baby. Yeah.
I go for the pomade.
Well, why the pomade, though? I mean, what is pomade?
Pomade, well, Douglas, is from the 1800s, and originally it was made out of bear fat, if you can believe it. Bear fat. So if you wanted to have a good
Did you
look,
say bear with me? Did you go the low-hanging fruit? And there's a reason why I say that.
because of apples.
Exactly. Pomade, the English comes from the French, pomade, which comes from the Roman, which is pomum, which means apple or fruit. And the reason for that is the original formulations of pomade back in the day, the 1700s, were bear fat and mashed fruit, particularly apple. And it was started by women. Women were actually the first to be using pomade, up into the 1940s, really. And that's why I bring up Katharine Hepburn and Betty Davis. They still were wearing it in the
Slick
50s
it back.
and 60s. But yeah, it was originally women were using pomades first.
That makes sense. I mean, look at the picture. It's got a woman on it. So does this one.
It does. So it's pretty much for everybody. But
gotta be true.
what is pomade? Why do you use pomade? What is so special about pomade?
I think it's a combination of the products, and then also I think a really important concept in pomade usage is that it's not a one-time application and it's going to be great. Like there's this whole layering.
All day you can be styling it as well.
Yeah, all day you can
it
style it.
It doesn't dry hard is what it all comes down to. A lot of you grew up with products in the 80s and the 90s, gels and whatnot, that once you get in there, you got to set it straight. Otherwise...
Oh, I remember that hairspray shit in the 90s.
My God, crispy.
Yeah.
You do the dandruff on the desk when you're at school. Yeah.
And then
it's not like that.
someone messed up your hair, you'd be like, oh, God, what am I supposed to do now?
Yeah, you're screwed. I had a friend that would carry around like a water spray bottle. He pumped it and it did that. He'd have his brush with him all day long.
My friends had basketball cards.
Your friends stink. Anyways, he doesn't really have any friends except for me. But yeah, so pomade. What makes pomade so special is you can work with it all day long. If it looks funky, you go to the mirror, the bathroom, fix it.
Yeah.
It doesn't dry hard.
But for that purpose, you really need to keep a comb in your pocket.
Comb.
Like the Fonz.
Like the Fonz.
Hey.
Exactly like the Fonz.
You're using pomade often. You're layering it. You're keeping it wet, keeping it going. But you do have to occasionally clean out your hair. I mean,
So when you say layering it, you're thinking like layering up.
That's exactly what I'm thinking, Doug. Layering
Which is
up.
building up the pomade in your hair. This will happen, folks, because you don't want to wash this out every day as you would a gel or any other product, typically water-based product. This is you actually allow it to build up. I know it sounds gross and disgusting, but it actually makes for a better, I guess, pomade
Experience.
It really does.
Performance.
The more buildup you have, the more control you have over it, because pomade it's tough to work with when you're first learning how to do it. However, just like in our beard episode, we want to challenge you and encourage you all to give pomade a try.
Give it a shot.
Curly or straight hair, it works great for all.
I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to throw a little bit here in my palm.
Well, what are you using?
Well, Doug, I'm using Phoenix Artisan Accoutrements water-based pomade.
Okay, so you're going for the water base, because I also have some of these. I was hoping he was going to reach for one of these originals. This is some of the older pomades right here that you'll still see in Sally's Beauty Supply, Walgreens, different pharmacies, whatnot. These are the originals. Murray's has been around since the mid-1920s, 1925, I believe. New Nile, which they're the same company. This is a lighter grease, whereas this is the heavy hold. Murray's, again, if you know something better more than me, leave it below in the comments, because pomades are not my thing aside from putting them together. Dax, another classic one. These are the stuff that people were using before all the artisans came out on the scene, like what Matt has here or mine. This is the classic stuff that's always been around. It's always been present there, and the stuff that people were using back in the day.
Yeah.
So what are we doing here, Mac?
Well, I warmed it up on my palm. A really important step. Get it warm so it actually will really kind of heat up the wax.
Emulsify it.
Well, if there's wax, I'm using water-based, but really you want to get it still covered in your hand, warmed it up, emulsified.
Yeah.
Really, I worked it through a bunch, feathered it through my hair, and now I'm just going to start styling away. Pretty cool over here.
See, that's important too, folks. So with the artisan stuff, sometimes you'll get the harder, waxier based pomade. And the way to get that out of the tin, typically, is the bulldozer. You use the thumbnail and just scrape it across the top, flake it off into your hand, about a pea-size amount, no, more than a pea-size, what did you say, a marble size?
Yeah.
And emulsify it in your hand, and then work it through the hair.
Now, can I use water and wax together? Is it going to be like acid and water?
Well, again, this is about experimentation. A lot of guys like to apply it wet, to wet hair.
Yeah.
But then there's some particular artisan waxes or wax-based pomades that don't work well that way. So, you can try wet application, you can try damp application, and dry, and see how your hair reacts to that approach.
Yeah, I've done it wet before, and sometimes it can just make a big sloppy mess with my hair. I have really thick hair, and so it just kind of gets crazy.
Yeah, so it's not for everybody. And then there's, you have wax-based pomades.
That looks nice. Kind of a wet look.
Yeah, not bad. Wax-based versus water-based. Water-based is relatively new in regards to pomades. Again, when pomades first came out, can you believe it was made out of
bear fat?
Bear fat. Bear fat, lard,
beeswax.
Beeswax. When you're coming into the 20th century, you start seeing beeswax show up in it. Petroleum jelly. What else?
There's a myth about
Lanolin.
that. People think that it's going to make you go bald, especially this one. I've heard Murray's makes you go bald. It's because that first ingredient, petrolatum.
Petroleum. Yes.
My crown is a symbol of my king-like authority. And between you and me, my hair is thinning a bit.
Oh, Your Highness, I'm sure it's not that noticeable. Bald! Bald! Bald!
Folks, but yeah, petroleum. I mean, there's some people that don't want to use petroleum-based products. I mean, this is coming from the gas industry on their hair, on their skin.
What are you talking about, man? I love the smell of pomade in the morning.
FDA, approves this stuff, but there's some people that want to go more the natural route, and more power to them.
I'm going to go crazy. I'm going to try two. I'm going to try two
Hey,
for
take two and call me.
So I got a little wax here. The classic Murray's.
So the differences between the wax and the water-based is the wax, again, you're going to get that buildup. You're not going to want to wash it out as often as you would the water-based. Water-based comes out a lot easier. So if you do want to wash your hair more frequently and get everything out, degrease, as we say, you would go for the water base. However, I don't recommend you do it every day. I think every couple of days. So you let it build up a little bit just so it gives you something to work with there. Again, these are newer. These came out in oh my God. It came out in the last 40 years. Closer to the gel that you may be used to, the water-based. But again, wax-based, harder to work with, but definitely worth learning how to work with it. You'll see clay in some of these wax-based ones. Clay is awesome, especially if you have thinner hair, to add more depth or more body to it. Kaolin clay especially is what you want to look for there. It also gives a little bit of grip to it. So during the course of the day, it's got a little resistance, so you can really tweak it out.
I'm just sitting here combing my hair all day.
And that's where the round brush comes in too.
Honey, it was ruined when she bought it. Yeah.
Especially when you're building a pompadour.
Ooh, yeah. I've always wanted to do it. I don't think I have the hair for it. I think you have to use a hair dryer, and you have to start with wet hair. It's a whole process to get a pompadour.
The wax versus water base is like a little bit of heat is often needed for working these different hairdos, like being the quiff, the pompadour.
Yeah, you need some other tools here.
Ducktail, not so much. But now, what are these things?
What things?
The styles I speak of. The pompadour.
The pompadour. Well, that's what you see like Johnny Cash, Elvis Presley in the early days. But it has its origins back in the 1800s, Victorian era. Ladies were actually really putting their hair way up, bringing it up and back down, and kind of making a little poof or a little kind of pump.
You're
right.
right.
It called?
You're right. Actually, it even goes back further. It comes out of the 1700s.
Oh.
Madame de Pompadour, who was the mistress of King Louis, the 15th of France. But I mean, the only thing that really has in common with the pompadour is her name, Madame Pompadour, because it didn't resemble anything of what guys and gals.
But when we think of
these
pompadours these days, we think of greasers. We think of Jimmy Dean,
Elvis,
or James Dean. I said Elvis earlier.
Okay, he did.
Johnny Cash. We think of that. The slick back, the greaser, the hipster. What are the guys who are all into swing music called? Swingers?
Stray Cats.
Yeah,
they're not called swingers. I know I put a tie on the doorknob over here, but that's not what I meant.
There's another word I'm missing. I forgot.
Sometimes you just put a tie on a doorknob. Anyways, no, this Katharine Hepburn. We can talk about Hollywood. Katharine Hepburn.
Yeah.
Betty Davis. Elvis, as we mentioned. Johnny Cash. Little Richard. Desi Arnaz even. James Dean.
I said some of these already.
Did you?
But yeah, I definitely got the. Now that I
Marlon Brando.
Yeah. Now that I put the wax based in, it definitely has much more of a slick, wet look to it.
And he'll be able to, replay
Style
with
it all day long.
Now, water-based, you can get away with that. It's not going to dry hard either. It is going to dry harder than a wax-based, however. So if you want to reactivate it, add some water to your hands or spray some on there just to soften it a bit, and you can work with it then. Another thing about water-based is you don't want to necessarily add that to wet hair as you would a wax-based pomade, just because that'll dilute the hold. Doesn't mean you can't experiment with it, and maybe that'll work for your hair.
Yeah.
And in preparation, like hair preparation, for this episode, I reached out to the guys from Everything Pomade on Facebook.
Thanks, guys, for all the tips.
Thank you so much. And I want to give a shout out to a couple of people. And one in particular is Christian Riviera. Christian Rivera, he answered a lot of questions that I was mystified by. And so some of his tips and tricks that we'll mention now I never would have come up with these. And so it's obvious this guy is a heavy pomade user.
You gotta wash your pillows and sheets, people. Wash them.
If you find yourself breaking out, and this is actually good advice for wet shaving as well, or
if
anyone
you-
who has acne prone,
Or if you
skin.
drool.
Or if you said you weren't going to talk about that. No, anyways. But yeah, if you acne prone skin, you should be changing your pillowcases on a regular basis anyways.
Once a week
and
at
least,
minimum.
But I see a workaround here. I don't know if he knows about the alum block.
Oh.
Yeah, but anyway, so with a lot of grease, you're going to be hitting the pillow at night. And again, as it builds up, there's going to be more hair, waxing your hair as you're sleeping at night, leaving it on your pillow, where it could cause acne to form in your skin and so on and so forth. So change your pillowcases a lot if you're doing that. Also, find your own towel for the bathroom. No one wants to use your pomade tauel he talks about.
Waxy,
here.
greasy.
Yeah.
That's disgusting.
No one wants that.
Mark with a big P on it.
And he writes here, so I'm going to be repeating myself a little, but oil-based pomade is not supposed to wash off easily, he says. Don't freak out if your hair still feels waxy or greasy. Fully degreasing is a gradual process. We'll talk about that in a second.
You can use dish soap to degrease, but it's not really good for your skin.
He also mentions using dish soap, and that's a classic and something to use in a pinch if you really want to get some of that buildup because it's a detergent.
Right, it's going to break down soaps.
It's really going to it's a degreaser as it does in your sink and your dishes and whatnot. So there's that. But again, not the best for your hair. If you do use that, maybe really condition your hair or use a leave-in conditioner after the fact. What else we got?
So another big thing we kind of mentioned earlier is that an oil-based pomade is something you're going to have to kind of do again and again. It's a lifestyle. It has to build up. So I applied it just now. It looks okay, but if I did it every single day for a week or two, I'll really start to see the results.
It's like spaghetti. It always tastes better the next day.
Or Thai food.
Try one on. And expensive doesn't always equate better. And that's true. Again, these are some classic pomades right here, probably under $5 a tin.
Yeah, and the heavier the wax is going to be better on like hot days because the lighter wax will start melting and get greasy, and you're going to have that really icky feeling of the grease coming down through your scalp.
You don't want that, especially in Arizona.
Yes.
He also has expensive doesn't always equate better, and that can be said for so many things.
Why MMV, baby? Your mileage may vary.
Yes. So he's saying don't necessarily rely too much on other people's reviews, especially when it comes to the cheap stuff. Get out there and try it. It's cheap enough to experiment with. Maybe experiment on the weekends, however. So by Monday, your hair's looking great because it's all that buildup. This is like, to me, I just wouldn't imagine like you want something to build up with that. I'm always trying to wash stuff out. This is actually encouraged.
Yeah.
So it's
a
inspiring.
lifestyle. Get ready to spend some money because the stuff gets expensive.
Right here, if you don't know anything about oil-based pomade, go to your local drugstore and look for Murray's Superior Hair Dressing. It's dirt cheap and extremely difficult to work with. If you can teach yourself to use Murray's, then you can use pretty much any pomade on the market. And that's true. That's like if you can play a drum set and make it sound good, you can play any drum set and make it sound good. Just like that. It's just like that. And right here. I don't know if I should read that one.
That's what I just said.
Oh, he already said that. Never mind. This one. Water oil-based pomade, the more wet your hair is, the slicker you can get it. So again, that's the difference between water versus wax, or one of them anyways that sticks out to me. You can work with wet hair with the wax. You can do that with water-based as well, but you might not want to because it dilutes the effects. So that's from Christian Rivera. Thank you so much, brother. We also need to give a shout out to Jay Peters, who says, take your time to learn the attributes of the pomade. Don't write something off instantly because it's different than a product you might have already used previously. Experiment with applying it to dry hair, damp hair, etc., and see what works best for you. Thank you, Jay Peters, for that one. Ruben Lozano Jr., pomade is life. He says, actually, pomade is good for hair.
Well,
I've heard that before.
I think
It's all
any
in
kind of
oils
waxy,
and fats.
yeah.
It's very conditioning. Though what Matt says about the petroleum, I don't. Again,
It's an urban legend.
It's an urban legend.
I knew
some people
someone
are destined to be bald.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, just because you used it, you went bald doesn't mean the product caused it.
Yeah, exactly. Then Bruno Dami Venderthoren, I'm totally butchering your name, Vanderthoren. The upside of owning pomades okay. Well, he's very supportive in his comments. I got it cut off a little, but thank you, Bruno, for participating.
I think you forgot one really important thing. Really important. That in a pinch, you can use Vaseline, guys.
Yeah, that's a little tip, trick, and hack. Like, if you're working on the build-up process and you're out of pomade, or you're traveling, or you've got to pack the pomade,
Or you're in your friend's bathroom.
but managed to pack the Vaseline, you can use Vaseline. You're not going to be able to control your hair with it, but it is adding grease to your hair. So it's adding to the build-up for tomorrow when you finally pick up that tin of pomade. So that's something to consider. Now, we did talk about the different styles, the pompadour, but we left out the ducktail,
DuckTales. Woohoo.
or the DA, duck's ass, or so on and so forth, which looks like this. Okay, observe the ducktail. This, my friends, is something you might want to do because it kind of ties the whole room together in regards to your hairstyle. So you can rock the pompadour on top, but the back of your hair still looks kind of funky.
You gotta have party in the front and business in the back.
I don't know what that means, but I'm in total agreement.
It means this, people, right there, the ducktail.
We get the screen happening.
Fine.
Yeah. So the ducktail is pretty much you're greasing the back of your head and you're parting it down the middle to resemble a duck's butt.
But I think,
Exactly.
yes. Another major component here, guys, is talking to your barber because a lot of this style of your hair has to come down with how it's cut. So if you're trying to work on a ducktail and you have like a tapered back like I do, where it's kind of shorter in the back,
Can't do
you're
that.
not going to do a ducktail. You
No.
have to talk to your barber, discuss with them what you're going for, the style you're
You have
going
to
after.
grow for the style.
Yeah.
Kind of like a mustache. Like a lot of guys want to do a handlebar mustache and they're not growing for it.
Like,
So
I have pretty long bangs here, but my bangs are not long enough to do a pompadour. You
Not
have to
yet.
have probably almost twice this length to really get that pump and then come back down.
Yeah, you'd style it up front first, then flip it back.
Yeah.
And working with the round brush.
Yes, and a hair
we're
dryer.
not going to do any demos like that today, folks, because we just can't. But there's lots online.
Really, really can't.
So there's the ducktail. There's also the quiff. And the quiff is...
Sounds a little personal.
It's very personal. It's a lot. It comes out of the 1950s. And it
out of
combines
somewhere.
the pompadour hairstyle and a flat top. And sometimes you actually see it combined with a mohawk as well. And it was very, very popular, if not a staple, with the British teddy boy movement. But became popular again in Europe in the early 1980s. The teddy bear whole movement comes out of the 1950s, but it became, again, popular in the 1980s and faced a resurgence in popularity during the 1990s as well.
Well,
Remember that?
thank you, Wikipedia.
Thank you, Wikipedia. And again, talking to your barber, it's probably a good idea that you do because chances are he's rocking a pompadour already or a ducktail. A lot of these guys have that whole rockabilly thing going on.
Rockabilly, that's what I was going for. I was like, what is it? Swingers, listen to like old music.
You confuse swingers with
Rockabilly. Well, the rockabilly is for swing music. That's why I thought that. Hello.
So that is pompadours, that is quiffs, and that is the ducktail in a nutshell, folks. And that is pomade.
If you use a pomade, let us know. If you rock a pompadour, show us a picture. I want to see this.
Yeah, and also, before we cut out, we should probably talk about degreasing it. So you got this buildup going on. You've been building it up for a week, maybe more if you're disgusting. But no, we don't judge here. But you need to degrease it. Again, you could use a quick fix would be the dishwash detergent, but you could also use something like this. This is it's the degreaser. It's the cube degreasing shampoo, which with the aid of Everything Pomade, or the guys at Everything Pomade, we were able to develop. And this will degrease and get out the buildup like nobody's business. But there are other ones out there as well, so don't just stop and start here. Definitely get out there, experiment with different pomades, the different degreasing, check out all the videos and YouTube advice online. It's amazing and it's endless. It's a rabbit hole.
It is. It's just like the wet shaving
It's
thing, guys.
exactly, and that's why it was so easy to do a crossover here, because it's a lot. It almost mirrors. It goes hand in hand. It runs parallel.
Yeah. So we're not the absolute experts on this.
By no means.
No, we're kind of novices. We definitely dove in a little bit and learned from other people, researched, got some products, tried some stuff out. But we wanted to more or less bring this episode to you guys as wet shavers, that just like wet shaving was kind of a down the rabbit hole experience where you try new things,
This
learning.
parallels it. It runs side by side with it.
Yeah.
It really is.
So if you got beautiful long hair and you want to do something with it, you want to maybe class up the style of your look,
Or even sex up a flat top.
or even sex up a flat top.
Probably the first time that's ever been said. But if that's something that interests you,
Yeah, pomades.
pomades. We're giving you permission to try pomade. And
Try it out.
Don't write it off.
Yeah. And just like wet shaving, people may have like made fun of you, like, oh, what do you like? You have to use like a fancy razor and fancy brush, and maybe at first you're like, yeah, I guess so. Well, try a new hair product, maybe the same thing where you're like, oh, I don't know. You're gonna walk in and be like, I need some Murray's, please, and I need to
Definitely pick up some Mars. It should be in your den regardless because it's cheap and it's one of the originals, 1925. People.
Same with Burl Cream.
Oh my God, I have a whole list of them. In fact, let's just run down the list of the originals right now.
Burl Cream was one of them.
Observe Brill Cream.
Yeah.
Observe Brill Cream, Murray's, Dax, as you can see here, New Nile, Dixie Peach, Royal Crown, Tres Flores, Wild Root, Lucky Tiger, Groom and Clean, Brill Cream, as Matt mentioned, and Jarrah's Hair Tonic. Jarrah's Hair Tonic, however, I'm a little skeptical or apprehensive about that just because I notice there's alcohol in it. And I don't know if you want to put alcohol in your head, although some people claim that it's great for dandruff and this and the other thing. But
Great for getting you drunk, too.
Yeah, I think it was really dry out your head.
I tried some Burl Cream one time for a Christmas party, and all night long it was just dripping down back of my neck, and I was just
Soul
like,
glow.
I felt so greasy. I could have used too much because they say only a dab will do.
Who says that?
That's the ad.
It's Dapper Dan, right?
No, that's the slogan. Just a dab will do.
Dabble do you. Just a dabble do you. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, folks. And when you do, you will be immediately entered in our degreasing pomade cube.
That's right.
That could be yours.
Degrease it up.
Degrease it up. Until next time, folks. Douglas Smythe, Matt Pisarcik, signing off from I'd Lather Be Shaving.
.com